Hey, so this is chapter 3, section 2. We're talking about the sectional differences. Yesterday we went over section 1, which we talked about the industry. So this is part 2, continuation. So we know industrialization is very, very important in this time frame, especially in the North. And the reason why industrialization spread very quickly in the North is because after the Jefferson embargo, where we could not trade with Britain or buy any products, of course, they were blocking us from buying anything. We still needed the machineries in order to grow our economy. Also, the War of 1812, which again, we are fighting Britain. So, if we're not buying machines from Britain, how are we going to survive? Well, now we have to figure out how do we make our own stuff. Well, Americans began to build their own factories in the Northeast. Well, if we're not going to get Britain, if you're not going to sell it to us, we'll find a way. Just like in school, everyday life. If somebody's not going to give it to you, what are you going to do? You find a way to get what you need. Well, since Americans in the Northeast had built their own factories and started producing their own money and actually making money, the economy is growing. Then the War of 1812 ends, and now we can trade with Britain again. What does that mean? We would rather buy our stuff from Britain because they've been making it for a very, very, very long time. So, after this war, the tariff of 1816 was put in place in order to protect the imports, or to tax the imports to America. That means if you would prefer to buy goods and services from Britain than your own people in America who are making them, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny to get that good or that service from Britain. Hint, hint, clue, clue. What does that sound like the United States should do? If you want goods and services from another country, instead of buying what is here, helping our own economy, helping our own people, then you should be taxed a little bit more. I think they had the right idea on the tariff of 1816. What do you think? Well, now that the most factories are built in the Northeast, we have to figure out why are they being built only in the Northeast and not in the South? Remember, we've already purchased Louisiana and their territory. Why not settle or make the factories there? There are a couple important reasons. One of them being the Northeast is closer to the capital. Remember, this is not 2014 what we're talking about. We're talking about back in the early 1800s, early 1800s. There is no Visa debit card. There is no credit card. There's no really like a checkbook. There's no way for me to fly back and forth to a major bank and get money. So, would you rather live close to the bank so you can walk next door and get your loan? Or would you rather be far, far away? Quick money, slow money. Quick money, slow money. I think I'd rather have quick money. So of course the factories are being built close to the capital. You can go borrow money really, really quick. Also, in the Northeast, they had the flowing rivers. We already discussed in section 1. These rivers, the steamboats, they're used for transportation. And if you want to ship your goods and services really, really quickly, you need to be near a river. Do we have planes? No. Do we have Chevy Camaros? 2014, yes. 1800s? No. Do you have a Ford Expedition? Hey, Ford Expedition. No, they don't have those back then. So what do you need to live near? The water. So those are the two reasons. Well, there's two reasons. Closer to the capital, more flowing rivers. So now what did I say again? Most factories are built in the north because of what? It was closer to the capital, faster money, walk next door, get your money. So, closer to the capital. The second one is more flowing rivers, more ways to transport your goods and services up and down the stream to the next county over, to the next city over. We learned about the Erie Canal. There's flowing rivers. Then we have one last reason. The South invested in slave labor. Pretty much cut and dry. They invested in slave labor. They really weren't interested in, oh, I'm going to make this factory. It's a good business. Slavery is a good business. So we're going to invest our money there. Up north, you do you. You do your industry up there. Our industry down here, we have slaves. So now we have the three reasons that most factories are built in the Northeast. They are number one, it's closer to the capital. Number two, there are more flowing rivers. And number three, the South wasn't interested in building an industry like the Northeast. They were more interested in their slavery. Now, does the industry hurt? Yes, the industry hurt, quote unquote, skilled workers of that time. For example, the blacksmiths and the shoemakers and the tailors. Now that we have a machine to do your job, why do I need to pay you money? That's like me paying Champs $200 for a pair of Jordans, but I can go over to the Nike outlet and pay $50 to $75 for it. Why would I pay more for the same thing? Why? It's not smart. So now these skilled workers no longer have a job. That was my dad. He just walked past the screen. So now these skilled workers have nothing. Like they have nothing to do with their time. Well, they have something to do, but they're not getting paid for it. They created what's called the Working Man's Party. They focused on free public education for all people and to limit the workday to 10 hours. Sounds like a good deal to me. Free public education. Do we have free public education? So maybe this is where the idea of our public education system comes from. We won't know until later on in the textbook. So now the Working Man's Party is made up of these skilled workers who no longer have jobs, and their main ideas: free public education and limit the workday to 10 hours. Well, now that they have industries up north, the middle class is emerging. We no longer have the people who are in the low social class and the high social class. There's now a middle one. The middle people are made up of the managers. These lawyers, they need people to manage their money. So the middle class workers decide, I'll do that. You don't got to pay me the same thing, just pay me a little bit more. And this idea created, of course, the middle class family, and now wives and mothers get to stay at home. This is where they are supposed to stay at home and take care of the children because their husbands are working. They're not too rich. They're not Beyonce, Jay-Z rich, but they also not on the corner poor. They're right in the middle. So if you can afford to stay home, take care of the family, your husband works, why not? This is the middle class family emerging in the 1800s. The last issue we discuss when it comes to sectionalism in chapter 3 is the idea of slavery in the South and what happened. Well, the cotton production. Slavery was booming. Remember, in the Northeast, they have these industries, they have manufacturing companies, but in the South, they are focusing on slaves. Why are they focusing on slaves? Because of the cotton boom. They called it the King Cotton. We the cotton of the South. Whatever the case may be, the southern states are known as the cotton states. And we can thank Eli Whitney, who created and produced the cotton gin. Eli Whitney created the cotton gin. So then the demand for cotton goes up. If it's easier to create it, and cotton's a good thing, I love a cotton shirt. So if the demand for cotton is going up in the Northeast and Britain, what does that mean? They need more cotton, they need more slaves to pick the cotton. Uh-oh, what does that mean now? Well, they need land. Land. More, more slaves, more cotton, more problems. Well, the people in the South says, well, the slaves don't need education and the poor white kids don't need education. They're trying to keep everybody in the same bracket. But slaves needed to work all day long to produce, to supply this demand. Everybody needed the cotton. Cotton, good, just like chocolate. So to restate it, slavery in the South. Why did it boom? Because of cotton production. Now, the founding fathers, such as Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, they all believed that slavery would just go away. Why, I have no idea. No, I do have an idea. They believe it will fade out with the introduction of industrialization, but they were sadly mistaken because they did not count on the inventions such as the cotton gin. So we have slavery in the South booming because of cotton production, specifically the cotton gin, who is produced by who? Who created it? Eli Whitney. Appreciate you. Now, the crazy thing, the funniest thing I saw was the Southerners, the plantation owners, they were arguing that the African slaves, the African American slaves they had on their plantations, were being treated much fairly than the whites who were working as just regular employees in the North. Now, of course, your discussion board will be on that. You're going to have to find some research, find something to back up that claim. Do you think that the African American slaves in the South were being treated better than the workers, the white workers in the North? All right, this is the end of chapter 3, section 2. Your notes and your questions are coming up.